Happy week 6. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for turning in your sketch drafts and also completing your peer review. I'll be leaving you guys some feedback during this week. I'll make an announcement when that feedback is ready. But even before you get my feedback, I want you guys to start the revision process, right? So you are going to take your partner's feedback plus your own writerly sensibilities and start that process. Today I want to focus in on developing your final draft. Now, between your first draft, the sketch, and your final draft, you may have several drafts, several different revisions. And so we've already sort of talked about what revision is. I'm going to take you deeper into that concept so that you can work on these steps and get the best final draft that you can. So our agenda for the day, for this particular lesson, is going to be finding out and really focusing in on what is the purpose of your narrative. Once you have that purpose, then we can have this idea of connection. And then I want you to get this idea of revision in your head as re-seeing as opposed to rewriting your work, right? So when it comes to purpose, purpose is the so what factor. It's the thing that makes the connection with your audience. On page 85 of The Curious Writer, there is an example personal narrative sketch written by a young lady named Amanda. I want you to take a moment and I want you to read this sketch example. You'll see that Amanda, in her essay called Earning a Sense of Place, she is getting her thoughts down on paper, but at the same time she is showing and telling. You'll notice the color changes. She highlighted her then narrator, and she highlighted that in the color of yellow. And then her now narrator, the narrator that brings about the wisdom and the reflection and the insight, is highlighted in blue. That's really important. I want you to keep that in mind for your own drafts. You have to show and tell. So notice the changes there. So take a moment and read that particular example on page 85. You can press pause on this video while you do that. All right, welcome back. So Amanda's telling us about her love of skiing and how she wants to translate that love and confidence to other areas of her life, because she's not confident in every area of her life. I don't know who exactly is. So I understand that. I don't ski, but I feel that need that she's expressing to transfer my feelings when I am doing something that I'm really good at. Like, I really love to teach, and people say I'm pretty good at it. And I also love to write, and people say I'm pretty good at it. I want to take that confidence that I have in those two areas and move it to other areas of my life where I'm not as confident. So that is a connection that Amanda was able to build. Even though I don't ski, I understand what she's truly getting at. I understand the purpose. So the key to you developing your draft is to fully understand your purpose of telling this narrative. Why are you telling this narrative? Why did you choose this particular experience? So what happens if we focus on that purpose and then you rebuild your essay? That's another good word for revision. Synonym is not just re-seeing it, but we are rebuilding it. So let's get away from the idea of rewriting it, because that sounds like drudgery. I wrote it once, I got to write it again. No, we are rebuilding our essay. We're re-saying it. So what if we rebuild the essay around that purpose that you established? It will bring about a greater resonance than just retelling of a really cool story. So as we really dig into revisions over the next week and a half, let's focus on exploring the questions that I have on the screen right now. As a matter of fact, what I want you guys to do, I want you to press pause on this recording, right, on this video, And I want you to do a fast write. So get a pen or a pencil or get your laptop ready. And I want you to spend about 2 minutes, put yourself on a timer, and I want you to tackle the 2 questions that are on the screen. Looking at your sketch draft, ask yourself and reflect, what might this essay be saying? Then, what questions does the essay raise for me and for others who don't know me? That's really important. Not only the questions that your essay raises for you, but what do you think it raises for others? That's important. Once you have that sense of this, then you can build or rebuild your essay around it. So press pause and put yourself on a timer. Use your phone. And then I want you to fast write your thoughts, your feelings on the 2 questions that are on the screen. Remember, a fast write is just a brain dump. You don't have to worry about spelling. It's just going down on a sheet of paper. And then you can use it to kind of focus yourself as you move forward into revision. So press pause, put yourself on a timer, and I'll see you back here in 2 minutes. All right. So hopefully you've gotten a chance to get that fast write down. Reflect on that. Reread it again. Get a greater sense of your own purpose of why you are writing. Because if you have a greater sense of that, it's easier for you to connect with your audience. So I do hope you have a greater sense of your purpose. Now, how can we best illustrate or dramatize that purpose in the intro paragraph for your essay? So what I want you guys to do, I have some steps on the screen. We're going to do another fast write. Get a brand new sheet of paper. You don't have to mess with your current intro paragraph. Not right now. Don't go into the actual draft and start deleting things. Don't do that. Get a fresh sheet of paper, right? Now, what I want you to do, you are going to create a brand new intro paragraph that takes a different approach to dramatizing the purpose of your essay. What's that main question you are grappling with? What's the problem, the experience, or the idea that you're really exploring? Remember, we have a greater sense of purpose now. How can we dramatize that? Think about a scene, maybe a description, a fact, a profile of a person, or maybe it's the rundown of the event that points to the beginning of the essay towards your purpose, right? Because it's really important that we make the connection with the audience as soon as possible. And that's what the intro is really doing, setting up your purpose. So what if you were to begin your narrative essay in the very intro paragraph by messing with the chronology? So instead of starting at the very beginning of the earliest remembrance of your experience or this event that you're writing about, what if you started in the middle or at the end and then move around in time? So a quick example of that would be, I had a student, she wanted to write about the power of motherhood, right? She was a mother, I believe, of 2 young children, and she was going back to school and everything like that. She wanted to write about how being a mother had changed her life and gave her a greater sense of purpose. And that's why she was going back to school. She wanted to give them a better foundation and a better future. So as opposed to, starting her narrative essay off where she, met her husband and how they got married and fell in love and got married and then conceived a child and then there was a birth. She didn't start there. Well, she started there initially, but through revision, what she did was her very first line of her personal narrative was about holding her firstborn for the first time. So she sets the scene in the very first sentence where she's in the birthing suite and the nurse is handing her this little bundle of joy, and she hears the whimpers and the cries of her child, and she feels this overwhelming joy and love. That's the very first sentence. It sets that up. She starts to then move back in time, giving us background information, and then she concludes that intro paragraph with a thesis on what the rest of the paragraphs are going to be about. And so, of course, she's in charge. She can move forward and backward in time how she sees fit. But she decided to start in the very middle of the memory when it came to building and establishing purpose in her intro paragraph. And then she moved from there. She went back in time and she told when she did get married to her husband and what his support meant throughout her process of deciding to go back to school while raising these two young children. So she moved around in time. So I want you to think about your own essay. Think about your purpose and ask yourself, how can I best dramatize this? And then I want you to focus there. And how can you re-see and then revise your intro paragraph? I want you to press pause. Put yourself on a timer, about 3 minutes. And I want you to fast write a new version, a new re-seeing of your intro with all of these things that I just explained to you guys in mind. You don't have to use this revision, but maybe it gives you a different perspective. And who knows, maybe it's going to be a little bit more effective and you will plug it in, replacing what you already have. So go ahead, press pause. Put yourself on a timer for about 3 minutes. Remember, a fast write is a brain dump, so you don't have to worry about spelling and mechanics and stuff like that. Just get it all down. How can you best dramatize the real purpose of you writing the essay? Press pause. Let your fast write begin. All right. How was that fast write? Is there potential there? Will this new revision, maybe with some shaping and molding, will it replace what you currently have or what you had for your sketch? Or is it just a gateway to show you, hey, even though I'm going to keep my original draft or I'm going to keep working on my intro paragraph and not use this one gives me a sort of an avenue to move forward. That's going to be completely up to you. Here are some make sure points as you are moving through revision over the next several days. Our due date is for the final draft is October 9th, so we still have some time. Here's some make sure points. Use the intro to establish a purpose. There's several different ways you can do that, but keep it in mind. I want you to, as you're working through your body paragraphs, find the balance between showing and telling. Not either or, but both. You have to show and tell. Be sure to check out the chapter, the personal narrative chapter. Bruce Bellinger writes about that extensively, showing and telling, the then and the now narrators, right? The then narrator shows us. It takes us back into the experience and lets us see all of those sensory details. It puts us, the audience, into the memory with you so we can see it, taste it, feel it, smell it, everything. And then the telling. That's the now narrator. That's you in the present moment, bringing your insight and wisdom that comes with experience, that comes from reflection. So you have to do both. And then conclude with the significance of the experience. Not only for you, but what you think this experience can mean for others. Again, it's about the connection. It's about the so what. And then any discoveries that you made, any consequences, where you are now, how this experience or event has impacted your day-to-day in your present moment and maybe even in your future. That's what the conclusion does. Now remember, we are not focusing on a 5-paragraph essay. You take as much real estate as you need in order to tell this narrative fully, but concisely at the same time with impact. So don't worry about, oh, I have to finish this in 5 paragraphs. You do not. You do not. All right. So make sure you revisit the assignment sheet for the minimum page count, but there is no maximum. Once you guys are done with revision, be sure to edit and to polish. So here's some questions for you. Every paragraph is unified. There's smooth transitions between paragraphs. Your sentences are varied in length. They're not just these sort of, simple sentences. They are compound, complex sentences that really express full ranges of thoughts and emotions. You have some strong word choice and some concise sentences. We don't want sentences that go on too long. And also we want to make sure we're choosing the most impactful and relevant words. Check your grammar. Look out for run-on sentences and sentence fragments, things of that nature. And then, of course, always run spell check. You should never turn in a final draft with any red lines or blue lines in the Microsoft Word document. If you see red or blue squiggly lines underneath words, that means that it's trying to tell you something. Right? Microsoft Word is trying to tell you, yo, you got some issues and problems. Be sure to check all of those, right? After you revise, then you edit. Those are two separate steps, okay? Here's your home practice. Work toward your final draft. That final draft is due Friday the 9th, no later than 11:59 p.m. Use the guidelines chart on page 94 of The Curious Writer. And in that chart, it highlights pages for revision and editing advice. Check those pages out. Use the assignment sheet and the rubric as a map. So check that earlier folder to make sure you have a copy of that right next to you. After you turn in your final draft, I do want you to reflect on this process. What was this unit like for you? So the personal narrative reflection is a discussion board. So you're going to make an initial post. That post is going to be due October the 11th. You will respond to 2 classmates by the 12th. Don't forget, responding to 2 classmates is mandatory, and it's the way you get the full credit. All right. So all of those steps and what you need to do are going to be in the week 6 and 7 folder. It's going to be a combination week. Week 6 and 7 is going to be the title of the folder. And believe it or not, I want you to have fun. It is possible to have fun when you're doing schoolwork. Have fun with the words, play with the language, all of that. Let it come to bear. All right, if you have any questions or comments, drop me an email. And I'm going to be sending you guys a video on how to use Blackboard Collaborate later during week 6. So that on week 7, before we get to the turn-in date for the final draft, you guys can actually get some more feedback working with one another. So I'll follow up with that later this week, but I think you'll find it helpful. All right, this is what you need to focus in on. Send me an email if there's any questions I can answer for you. Bring some clarity. Have a great week and happy writing.